Good morning, everyone. So today we will be starting with the second lecture of the International Relations Current Affairs Summary of the past 1 year. So as we all know, this is Strived IAS Academy. Here we are going to provide you the 365-degree coverage of the current affairs of the last 18 months before the prelims exam of this year 2025. So we are making sure that this will be the fully and comprehensive analysis of the current affairs and the related topics which are in the news. So here we will be providing you the detailed and crisp analysis which is provided by the experienced faculty for different subjects. The different subject experts are there and who have mastered the prelims and cracked it in the previous years. So now let us begin with our class today. So as we all yesterday where we stopped, we were discussing the multinational groupings in the topic of international relations current affairs. And I also said that international relations hold a very significant number of questions in the prelims exam over the last 3 years. It might be directly or indirectly provided. So it can be a map-based question or it can be an economic organization question, anything it might be. So we have to cover it in a very comprehensive way in order to score good marks. So let us begin with this today. Yesterday, we were stopped at discussing this particular groupings. So in this, now today we will be continuing with the next grouping, that is the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. It is also very much in news and it is very much important because India is also a member and a lot of things has been happening in this SCO summit. So first, why it is in news? It is in news because the 24th summit of the head of the states of the SCO has held in the Astana, that is Kazakhstan. In the Astana, Kazakhstan, the 24th summit has held and then the Astana declaration has been adopted. And also here, now the Belarus will be first exclusively European country to join the SCO. Now in this summit, so the Belarus will be exclusively a European country which is going to join the SCO. Now what is the important facts that you have to remember about the SCO for the prelims? First, it was founded by the Shanghai Summit in 2001 by the Russia, China, Kyrgyz Republic, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan and the Uzbekistan. So basically, these are the first 5 countries are used to be called as the Shanghai 5 earlier, and along with addition with the Uzbekistan, the Shanghai Cooperation has been formed in 2001. Now, SCO has 10 members in this regard. Currently, at present, SCO is having 10 members. So, along with these 6 countries, India, Pakistan, Iran, Belarus. Now, Belarus has joined, so that now it became the 10 countries. And then in this, we have 3 more observer states and 6 dialogue partners also, including Afghanistan, such countries. Now, what is the structure of the SCO? Because it is very much in news, you have to be very sure about what is the proper structure of this organization. First, the Council of Heads of State. As we said, now the summit was held between these head of the states. It is the apex decision-making body. It is the largest decision-making body in this regard. And then the Council of Heads of the Governments, that will be the second highest council. That is the heads of the government. This is the heads of the state. Next, then we have the 2 permanent bodies are there under SCO, which we have to remember. One is the Secretariat. The Secretariat is located in the Beijing, China. And then RATS. RATS is the Regional Anti-Terrorist Structure that is there in the Tashkent, in the Uzbekistan. These 2 important facts you have to remember. And apart from that, what are the major goals and objectives? Means security-related concerns, border issues resolving, military cooperation, peaceful missions, countering terrorism, education, energy, transportation, etc. Multiple dimensions. In all these areas, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is having the proper, what we'll be saying this as the cooperation between these countries. Okay, this is all about the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Now we'll be looking into the next multinational organization, that is India-Pacific Island Nations. So what is this Pacific Island Nations? So the group of islands which are present in the Pacific Ocean, those combining of the large categories which are called as the Polynesia, Micronesia, and then the Melanesia. So these group of islands all together is called as the Pacific Island nations. In Polynesia, we have the famous Hawaii Islands. Then we have the Tuvalu, which is in news, and then the Cook Islands, and then the Kiribati. Then we have the French Polynesia, Tonga, which was there in the news because of the uh, uh, volcanic eruption recently happened in this regard. Then now when we come to the Micronesia, we have the Marshall Islands, Mariana Islands, Palau, these kind of nations. And then in the Melanesia, we have the Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, Fiji, these kind of countries. So you have to remember these countries which are belonging to which grouping, and these are the Pacific Island nations. This is one of the important map-based part also. Now, why it is in news? Because recently India has offered disaster aid. We have provided humanitarian aid to the disaster hit Pacific Island nation, that is the Papua New Guinea. So Papua New Guinea has been hit by a disaster. So India has provided assistance to it, showcasing the commitment to the Forum for India Pacific Islands Cooperation. Now this is the cooperation. So Forum for India Pacific Islands Cooperation Partnership. This is the partnership between the India as well as the Pacific Island nations in this overall context. Now we will be seeing about this particular, now short form we'll call it FIPIC. Okay, so about the FIPIC, it is found in the 2014. What is this? It is a multinational grouping because the Pacific Island nations as well as the India along with the 14 other Pacific Island nations has formed this multinational grouping, and then it is announced as part of the India's Act East policy, because we all know that these islands will be geographically towards the east of the Indian country. Okay, and who are these members in this one? As we see, Cook Islands, Fiji, Kiribati, Marshall Islands, Micronesia, Nauru, Niue, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Palau, Papua New Guinea, Tonga, Tuvalu, and Vanuatu. Why I'm reading this out is, once if you listen to this, at least whenever you are writing a question about this topic, it might suddenly strike in your mind that whether this I might have heard it while reading this topic, or I might have not heard this, so that this might not be in this one. So in this way also, if there is a tough question, there you will be able to just address this part at least. If you are directly not going to get exactly remembering all this, but once if you read once or twice, by this way, it will be helpful for you. Okay, then what are the summits? These FIPIC summits held. This is the first one immediately after the forming. It was held in the Fiji. Okay, and then second one was held in 2015 in India, and currently the third one, Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea. It was held in the Papua New Guinea. That's why in this context, so for these two reasons, the Pacific Island nations has been in the news, and we have to know about the map as well as what is the India's relationship with the Pacific Island nations. Okay, the same map has been attached here. You can read it when you read this. So the next one is the Western Indian Ocean region. So this multinational grouping. So the Western Indian Ocean region, when we are speaking about that, what it is consisting of? It stretches from the east coast of Africa. So this is the eastern coast of Africa to the western shores of India. So India is present here. Here, India is present. So till this point. So this entire part, which is called as the Western Indian Ocean region. Okay. Now, what are the countries it is consisting of? So it consists of the countries such as Kenya, Mozambique, Somali, South Africa, Tanzania, Comoros, Madagascar, Mauritius, Seychelles, and then the French territories. The map is clearly provided for you. You can check it out, this map clearly. Now, what is the significance of the Western Indian Ocean region? Because the first important is it is in the strategic location, because it bridges the gap between the Indo-Pacific as well as the Middle East. So it connects between these two. And also we know that we have the multiple important trade routes running through this particular route. That is why it is very important for India to have as a strategic location. Then why it is also having the place for the initiatives such as the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, the G20, which was proposed in G20 in the New Delhi Declaration. this also passes through this particular region. And one more important is because we have to counter the Chinese influence, because there was a growing Chinese influence in this region. For example, if you can see, India has a military base in Madagascar, and we are working with Mauritius to set up a military base in the Agalega Island. So you have to remember Mauritius, Agalega Island. Okay. So in order to curb or neutralize the growing advances of the Chinese in this region. Next, third important is blue economy. We follow this blue economy principle, where immense natural resources can contribute to success of India's deep ocean mission as well as the blue economy initiatives. So we are looking for the deep ocean missions, exploration missions, as well as the protecting this oceanic environment. Then energy security. This is one of the very important part of this West Indian Ocean region. That is because the key trade routes, as we spoke, that is the Suez Canal is passing through this one, and 90% of the energy trade happens through the Indian Ocean. That is mainly through the Suez Canal, and it is the net, as India is the net security provided in this region, because India feels that it is the strategic backyard of India. So Indian Ocean region, entire Indian Ocean region, India considers it to be the strategic backyard of India. Now, next one is India West Indian Ocean region engagement. How we are going to engage? So first is the Sagar doctrine. India follows a Sagar doctrine, that is the security and growth for all in the region. Under this mission, we will be providing wide range of multiple assistances, such as the COVID-related assistance we gave, food aid, medicines, all these teams, medical assistance teams also we are providing. We are providing all these details. Then we have the capacity building. India also offering training and equipment to the coastal guards and all this. So that is where, for example, you can see Indian Air Force training team is deployed in Mauritius to provide the training assistance to the police. Next, joint military exercises. For example, Africa-India field training exercise. So AF-Index. It was conducted in Pune in 2019. So it has participants from 17 African countries. So this is one example of engaging the West Indian Ocean Rim Association countries. Then, for example, of Operation Sankalp. So Indian Navy has conducted a maritime security operation in the Gulf of Aden and the adjoining areas. So that is the operation name is Operation Sankalp. And also Information Fusion Center, Indian Ocean region. We'll discuss about this later in detail. We have this about this also. But basically remember that it is the information exchange that is present for the Indian Ocean region entirely. And also India is the member in some of the common multilateral forums, such as IORM, that is the Indian Ocean Rim Association, because India is also a Indian Ocean Rim country. So we are also part of this particular multinational forum, multilateral forum. Then Indian Ocean Naval Symposium. India is also part of this. So in this way, India is engaging in the Indian Ocean region, especially the first important that is the Sagar doctrine. So we are governing all this continuously towards the same cooperation which we are having in the Act East policy also. So we are covering up the West Asian region, and overall by this way we will be going for West Indian region, and overall by this way we will be looking after the entire Indian Ocean region. This is the now. Next, we will be going into the next particular grouping, which is very important. That is in the news. That is the Colombo Security Conclave. So why it is important? Because the Colombo Security Conclave officially has included the Bangladesh as its fifth member. Okay. So now we'll be reading about what is this Colombo Security Conclave. First, it is a regional security grouping. Okay. It is regional security grouping involving India also. So what is the aim? To make the maritime security, marine pollution response, maritime search and rescue in the Indian Ocean region. So in the Indian Ocean region, we are associating all the things related to the maritime issues, security, pollution, all these things. We want a comprehensive grouping. That is where the Colombo Security Conclave has taken birth. What is the beginning of it? In 2011, it has begun as the trilateral maritime security grouping of the India, Sri Lanka, and Maldives. Okay. So these three countries has come together and formed a trilateral maritime security grouping. But later, Mauritius has joined. So now, and it has rebranded in 2022. So when, in 2020, when the Mauritius has joined in 2020, that is when the grouping has given this new name, that is the Colombo Security Conclave. And then Seychelles is the observer member. And now with the addition of Bangladesh, it is having the 5 members. Okay, this is all about the Colombo Security Conclave that you have to remember for the prelims facts. Then we have the next one, Mercosur. So Mercosur, why it is in the news? Because the Bolivia, so the South American country Bolivia has become a full member of the Mercosur. Okay, now if you can see what is important facts about the Mercosur. It is the Southern Common Market. For its Mercosur is usually called for its Spanish initials, but overall its abbreviation is Southern Common Market. This is of the South American countries. That is in the Latin America, the entire Latin America area. The members are the Southern American countries, South America continent countries. In this, we are seeing it is established by the Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay in 1991. By these 4 countries, it was established in 1991, and subsequently it was joined by the Venezuela, and now it is joined by the Bolivia. Also, we have to remember Venezuela has been suspended since 2016 in this grouping, Mercosur grouping. Okay, what is the objective? They want a free movement of goods and services. Usually, it is an economic corridor they want to build in this regard. And then people also. So market union as well as the political union. Then India has a preferential trade agreement. Preferential trade agreement is the one step before the free trade agreement. So it was because only particular goods and services which are mentioned in the agreement are covered under the preferential trade agreement. But in an FTA, the full-fledged agreement will be made and it will be followed. Okay. Usually it is considered that preferential trade agreement will be followed by a free trade agreement between those countries. So this is all about the Mercosur. And here you have an assignment that please look at the map of the South America and identify these countries and what are the countries sharing border with each other. Next, after this, we have the one more important topic, that is the India and the GCC joint action plan. So India and GCC has given a joint action plan in 2024-2028 for this period. Okay, how? Now we'll be seeing this. First, India and the GCC adopted a joint action plan at the first India-GCC joint ministerial meeting for the strategic dialogue. So this is the first time that the India and GCC is sitting for a joint ministerial meeting and for the purpose of strategic dialogue. Now, first, what is this GCC? We'll understand. Okay, and first, just we'll be remembering that the GCC consists of the the joint action plan consists of the areas including health, trade, security, agriculture, and all this. And then areas of cooperation also can be added if there is a mutual consensus between these countries. Next, here it is included the 3P framework, that is the people, prosperity, and progress, in order to enhance the India-GCC partnership. And it also discussed about the humanitarian crisis in the Gaza, that is with the ongoing war between the Israel and the Gaza, Hamas. So India's position on Gaza crisis is consistent for the responses that require humanitarian law. We were constantly calling for the cease of action, and then humanitarian assistance has to be provided. That has been reiterated in this particular summit. But now this is just for your relevance. It is important to remember this. But most important is that you have to remember about the GCC countries. So first, it is founded in the 1981, and its headquarters is present in the Riyadh, that is the Saudi Arabia. So, but what are its members? Bordering this Persian Gulf are usually termed this as the Gulf Cooperation Council. So that is the GCC. Here you have the important Saudi Arabia, which is the largest one, and then we have Oman, then we have the UAE, These are the countries that are present in this particular grouping. So that you have to remember. You should not forget. Read with the map. You will also remember. Also, whenever you are looking at this particular Gulf Cooperation Council map, see about this Gulf of Eden, Red Sea, Persian Gulf. So these kind of things also, please remember and point it out. And what are the key objectives of this one? So economic integration should be there among the members, and they are trying to go for a common market, joint security cooperation, cultural cooperation, science and tech collaboration. So it is very wide ranged, strategic, diverse topics are covered under this grouping. That is one of the important. And we have to remember that the economic features will form the base and the stronghold in this particular grouping, but cultural as well as the technical and all this association is also very much interested by these members of the grouping. Then we have the economic features. So first, what are the importance of this grouping is the combined GDP is around 2 trillion of all these countries. And then these are the major oil and gas exporter countries. As we all know, oil and gas forms a significant part of their economic structure. And then oil and gas are the disruptive goods and goods that are present in the global trade currently, because they are vulnerable to many different fluctuations in the market as well as the global geopolitics. And then the common market has been established in 2008 itself, and the free movement of citizens between the member state. So this has been looking into regard. And then shared currency plans were going on, but it was not yet implemented. So this signifies the importance of the GCC in regards with the particular grouping in that region. Now we will be slightly looking into how the India-GCC relations were there throughout. Okay. First, because this is the first time we are going for inter-ministerial meeting, we have discussed. So what is the earlier significance of this grouping? First, India holds a strategic partnerships with the Saudi Arabia, UAE, Oman, and if you all know, if you are following the news, just a few days back, Qatar also. So India has established these strategic partnerships with the Qatar also. That is why it is very important to know that these particular countries are having very much significance to India. And then the first India-GCC political dialogue was held in the 2003. Okay. Now, trade and investment, what is the relationship in this? So the bilateral trade is approximately $162 billion in 2023-24. So as you all know, UAE is one of the largest source of FDI. That is the 7th largest source of FDI to India. And then very important of this particular grouping for India is that diaspora. So around 8.9 million Indian expatriates are living in the GCC countries alone. So 8.9 million is a very significant number. Okay. And then the remittances which are coming from this GCC accounts for 30% of the total inward remittances we are receiving. So it is also very significant number, and this can be asked as a simple statement. So nearly 1/3 of the total inward remittances for India is coming from the GCC members, GCC countries. So that can be a statement, and it is correct. It is almost nearly 1/3. Okay. And energy. So GCC national supply 35% of the Indian oil imports, 70% of its gas imports. You all know in the gas imports, the Qatar is one of the leading country for us. Okay. This is all about the GCC as well as the India-GCC cooperation. Now we will be looking into the next grouping, that is the ASEAN. So it is very much in the of India, and it is very much popularly known to everyone. Now we'll be discussing in detail for this particular grouping. First, the Prime Minister of India has participated in the 21st ASEAN India Summit in the Laos. So in the Laos, the 21st ASEAN India Summit was held, and for that our Honorable Prime Minister has made a participation. This is that is why ASEAN has to be known in the news. But what is about the grouping? We have to know what is the details, prelims facts that are required for the for us to understand about this particular grouping. First one, it is the intergovernmental organization. So it is between the governments of these particular islands, and then it was established by the 1967 in the Bangkok. Okay, and its headquarters is located in the Jakarta, Indonesia. So Jakarta is in the Indonesia. So its headquarters is lying there. And it has started with only the 5 founding members, that is Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. And later on, it has grown into a 10-member country. You have to remember, currently there are 10 members. Operates through the annual ASEAN summit, okay, with rotating presidency. And we have to remember this rotating presidency. So each year the presidency rotates between these members. 1 year one country, another year next country. And annually the ASEAN summit will held. And it is supported by the coordinating council as well as the secretariat. It functions through the ASEAN Regional Forum for the Security Dialogues, which India has joined in the 1996. So ASEAN Regional Forum for the Security Dialogues, for that India has joined. And recently there was an established called the ASEAN Future Forum in 2023. So for what? It is for the policy recommendations and new ideas. With India is the founding member of this. Remember that ASEAN Future Forum, which was founded in 2023, India is the founding member. That is why you have to remember this. And what are the other bodies? Is the ASEAN Summit, usually the annual meeting, that is the rotating presidency was going on, and ASEAN Coordinating Council, ACC, ASEAN Secretariat. These are the other key important bodies. Now we will be seeing what are the 10 countries that are included in the ASEAN. Now starting with our neighbor, Myanmar is also a part of the ASEAN grouping, and followed by the 3 countries which are forming of the golden triangle, that is the Thailand, Laos, Vietnam. So these 3 are also part of the ASEAN grouping. Then the country Cambodia is the part of this. So like this you can remember. So these are the 5 which are forming almost close to the Indian border, that is the peninsula of Indian border. So Indian subcontinent peninsula, Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia. And now comes the main important islands, that is the Singapore, then the Indonesia, then we have the Malaysia, then we have the Brunei, and then the Philippines. These 5. So if you want to remember, you can remember by breaking this into 5 countries like this. Okay. Simply break like this. Remember this: Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia, and then Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Brunei. So this way you have to remember about the 10 important countries of ASEAN. So it is always remember these countries has to be remembered. And now if you are speaking about the 10-point plan. So there was a 10-point plan that has been brought down to strengthen the India-ASEAN relations. So in wide range of sectors, we are looking to have this thing. So for that, first one is the tourism. In this, we are having ASEAN India Year of Tourism in 2025. So then we have the science and technology, that is the annual Women Scientist Conclave. Under the India ASEAN Science and Technology Fund is there. And in the trade, ASEAN India Trade in the Goods Agreement by 2025. Health, ASEAN India Health Ministers Meeting. Cyber security, India ASEAN Cyber Policy Dialogue Mechanism. And in the cultural exchange, so we are celebrating the 10 years of activities through the youth summits as well as startup festivals. Education, there is a scholarship doubling happening at the Nalanda University and some of the agricultural universities. And in the disaster management field, we have the ASEAN India Fund for the disaster resilience. So energy, green hydrogen workshops we are going to build. And then the environment. So Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam. So this is a climate resilience campaign, that means plant for mother, with the ASEAN's participation. So this is just you have to remember, this is more required for the mains perspective, but you can simply remember what are the programs going on in this particular thing, so that you will have a simple idea. Okay. After that, now we are done with this ASEAN group. But there is one important thing that is present in the ASEAN only, that is the ASEAN Defense Ministers Meeting Plus, ADMM Plus. So it is important because why did the 11th ADMM Plus was held in the Vientiane, that is in the Laos PDR. So in the country Laos, the 11th, along with the ASEAN subcommittee, this will be happening. Now, what is the importance of this particular grouping and what are the countries that are present? So it comprises of the 10 ASEAN member states that we have recently discussed. Now, What are the 10 ASEAN member states? Those are present in this. Along with this, there are 8 dialogue partners. So you have to remember these 8 dialogue partners, that is Australia, China, and India. India is also a part of this one. And then Japan, New Zealand, Republic of Korea, that is the South Korea, we call it as, and then the Russia, and then the USA, United States of America. So these are the important dialogue partners, 8 important dialogue partners. You have to remember this. And then when was the first time the ADMM Plus was held? The inaugural was held in the Vietnam in 2010. So since then, again, along with the almost every year, along with the ASEAN Summit, the ADMM Plus Summit will also be happening. So it is meet annually to further the dialogue. And what is the main purpose of it? To strengthen the security and defense cooperation for maintenance of peace and stability. So security and defense cooperation is one of the biggest important theme of the ADMM Plus Summit. So here there is a mistake. So it is ADMM Plus, ASEAN Defense Ministers Meeting Plus. So it is focusing on the 7 areas, that is the maritime security, counter-terrorism, peacekeeping operations, military medicine, humanitarian mine action, as well as the cyber security. These are the 7 areas of practical cooperation in this particular grouping. Okay. Now moving ahead, we'll be discussing about the one of the very important grouping that is recently in the news, that is about the Brics. So Brics is in the news for various reasons. So the first important reason is the 16th Brics Summit that is hosted by the Kazan in the Russia. So marking a historic moment as the first meeting with an expanded Brics membership. As we all know, the last year when the Brics Summit was held in South Africa, so the membership has been expanded. And during this summit only, so the Kazan Declaration has been adopted. So what is the theme? That is the strengthening multilateralism for just global development and security. This is the tagline of this. So it is emphasizing the global cooperation and development and our commitments as a members to this particular grouping. And now we also know that Brazil will be assuming the Brics chairmanship in the 2025, and it will host the 17th Brics Summit. You can remember this important fact. As a matter of fact, so the next one will be holding by the 17th summit will be held by the Brazil. Now, what we have to know about the Brics? What is important about the Brics? So Brics is usually, when the economist Jim O'Neill in 2001, he gave this acronym BRIC for Brazil, Russia, India, and China, because he felt that these are the emerging economies and there has to be a need that these can form a bloc. That is when the origin of the BRIC roots back to this place. So the group, but after that it was in 2009, the group was formally began. So it was formally began in 2006. The meetings used to be held in simultaneous with the G8 meetings, but with the first summit, it was held in the Russia in 2009. It has officially began. The BRICS has officially began. And then in 2010, the next year, immediate next year, South Africa has joined this grouping, and from there, the BRIC has been calling as the BRICS. Okay. And now in the last year, so there are 5 new members that was added. One is the Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE. So these 5 new members were added. And there is small assignment for you. Find out there was one more country that has promised to join, but it has not joined formally and it has withdrawn immediately its proposal. So what is the other country, the 6th country? Please mention in the comments below. Okay. And then the expanded BRICS now has the 10 member countries. So the BRICS 5 along with the new added 5 members. So it is making a significant global alliance because the 10 emerging economies has joined in this particular grouping. Now BRICS now represents the 45% of the world's population and then 37.3% of the global GDP. So it is larger than both EU as well as the G7. Remember that, because most emerging nations all together has come in this particular grouping. That is why it is very much, you can remember, see, it is more than that of the G7 and the EU grouping, which are considered usually the developed countries. Now, what are the BRICS initiatives that are there in the different areas. It is important because the grouping is in this much news, and it is very, very important for us to understand what are the wide range of activities or the initiatives that are run by this particular grouping. First and foremost important is the financial initiatives. Under this, the new development bank that is head in the Shanghai, it is there for the infrastructural funding. Okay, in order to put, so just like the World Bank for the in this regard. So the main purpose of the BRICS, one of the purposes of the BRICS is that of the to counter the global, the already established global powers in economic excellence. So that is where we have been emerging as a emerging economic coming together and funding this project. We also know that all these BRICS countries, most of the BRIC countries are calling for the UN reforms as well. So they believe that UN has become an outdated institution and there has to be a need for the reforms in that regard. So that is why the first important is the Development Bank Shanghai, that is there for the infrastructure funding. And then contingent reserve arrangement is there. So just like the IMF provides bailout packages, so the contingent reserve arrangement is also provided for the short-term financial support. Whenever is a country is suffering from the short-term economic problems, so the contingent reserve arrangement will be provided. And then BRICS pay system, it has been established using the blockchain technology. And then Russian-led grain exchange for the agricultural trading. And then BRICS clear depository for cross-border settlements. So these are some of the important financial initiatives, especially these first two. You have to remember. And then second one, global South engagement, because BRICS plus dialogue, it is happening with the developing nations from the multiple continents. So it also created a BRICS partner country category, under which 13 new partners were included: Cuba, Turkey, Vietnam, kind of new emerging global South countries. So that is why BRICS also is actively engaging with the global South nations. Then in the security concepts, BRICS is also important because so the UN's Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism, it is supporting for this particular convention. So which has been pushed to counter it has been pushed because it is said that we have to have a clear-cut definition of terrorism, and for that to happen, all the countries has to accept on this convention, and we have to make a comprehensive and binding agreement so that every country is bound to detach their relationship from their terrorist organizations. So for that, the BRICS is also giving a unilateral support. Then science and technology, in this remote sensing satellite constellation program is also run by this one. And then R&D vaccine center and early warning systems for the infectious diseases. All these are the areas of cooperation in this regards of the BRICS. So BRICS initiative. In this way, we have covered the very important, the BRICS, that is very in a comprehensive manner. Now, with this, we'll move on to the next important one, that is the IBSA. So IBSA is a grouping of the India, Brazil, South Africa. So what is the important prelims facts related to this one? First, it was established in 2003. Okay, what is the purpose? It is for the purpose of global governance reform. So in order to bring the reforms in the global governance, as well as during the WTO talks, and then addressing climate change and the terrorism. So usually it is to counter the growing aggressive issues in the climate change and terrorism arena, as well as bring a positive impact on the governance aspects. For this all purposes, IBSA has been established. What is the foundation? It is founded on the shared democratic values and goals for the global institutional responsibility. For this regard, it has been formed. Now, in this, we have the IBSA fund is also there, popularly called as IBSA fund, which is the IBSA facility for poverty and hunger elevation. So this is one of the important, you have to remember, IBSA fund. Then India has contributed 1 million to the IBSA fund. This is and IBSA fund is in news. That is why we also had to know in detail about the IBSA fund. So it was jointly established by India, Brazil, and South Africa in 2004. So in 2003, the IBSA has been established, and in 2004, the IBSA fund was established, and it has become operational in 2006. This you have to remember. And then why it is useful? Because it is useful for supporting the projects in the global South. Okay. to achieve their national priorities as well as all other internationally agreed development goals. So in order to provide them support to develop some infrastructural projects and everything, so this IBSA fund will be used. That is all about this particular group. Then we'll be moving on to the next particular important grouping that is there in the news. That is the basic. So Brazil, South Africa, India, China. So these four countries form a grouping called the basic. It is formed in the 2009. What is the primary focus? The primary focus is climate change issues, which are aligned with the G77 and the developing nations. So again, G77 is another group of nations which are calling for the climate action. So the global south, calling for the global south together and demanding the climate reparations as well as the climate justice from the developed nations who have already exploited the environment and gained the economic benefits out of this. Now they feel that it is the responsibility of those developed countries to provide financial assistance in order to help these countries face the challenges of the climate change. Okay, that is about the primary focus of this particular basic. And geographically, if you see significance, it covers the 1/3 of the world's geographical area. See, these are all the biggest countries: India, China, Brazil, South Africa. In their particular geographical areas, these are all the biggest countries. So that is why 1/3 of the world's geographical area these groupings form, and they are demanding for the action against the climate change and protection of the environment. This should itself hold a significance of what is the importance of environment and what is the need for its protection in the recent times. Okay, and what is the population impact? So nearly 40% of the world population is present in these countries. So these are the simple basic facts that you have to remember about this particular basic grouping. Moving ahead, now we have the next grouping, that is the C10 group and the L.99 group. So what are these groups? We have to see. So first, why it is in news? The External Affairs Minister has participated in the first ever joint meeting of the C10 and the L.69 groupings. So for this C10 and the L.69 groupings, our External Affairs Minister has participated for this first ever joint ministerial meeting. So, but what is first, roughly we'll be seeing what is L.69. It is a grouping that includes countries from Africa, Latin America, Caribbean, Pacific Islands, and Asia. So it is India is also a member of this one. So this is the importance of this particular grouping. L.69 grouping is including these countries. Now we will be reading about the C10. So this C10 grouping, it was established in 2008. So what is the full form? Committee of 10 African Ministers of Finance and Central Bank Governors. So members are the 8 countries and the true central banks of the African continent. These 8 countries are Algeria, Botswana, Cameroon, Egypt, Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, and Tanzania. And in the 2 central banks include the Central Bank of West African States and then the Central Bank of Central African States. Okay, what is the purpose of this particular C10 grouping? That is, advocates for the greater African representation in the international financial institution. So this much information you have to remember about C10 and the L.69. Don't go further into the details and complicate yourself. This is a basic understanding you have to have about these groups because these are just there in the news. So you have to know some important, simple facts about this particular. But the next one is very, very important. That is the G20 summit. As you all know, this is one of the very, very, very important grouping in the Indian context. Okay, so that is why we have to read in detail about this G20 summit. So we are reading. First, let us begin why it is in news. It is in news because the 18th G20 summit that was hosted in the Rio de Janeiro, that is Brazil. It has under this theme, it has held under the theme building a just world and a sustainable planet. And now what is the importance of this grouping? Importance of this summit is that African Union has participated for the first time as a full member. As we all know, in 2023, AU in 2023 by New Delhi Declaration. By New Delhi Declaration, it has been added. That is, the African Union has formally added into the G20 grouping. Now,
African Union has officially participated in its first time as a full member in this particular meeting. Okay. Now, Brazil's hosting represented a continuing shift. So basically, what will be in G20, there is a term called as the Trioca. Trioca meaning the country which hosted the last year summit, the country which is hosting the present year summit, and the country which will host the next year summit. So this is called as the Trioca. For example, when here see, so last time India has hosted the summit. So and now Brazil is hosted in 2024, and in the next year South Africa is set to host. So India, Brazil, South Africa, these are forming the Trioca. So this is the Trioca system, and you can also find the pattern that is between these three countries, that is India, Brazil, and the South Africa. We have a particular grouping also called as IBSA. Just now we discussed about the IBSA. So these IBSA grouping countries are the Trioca for this particular G20 summit for these 3 years. Okay. Now we will be seeing about what is the origin of the G20 summit. That is in the 1999 during the Asian crisis. So it is initially made for the finance ministers and the central bank governors in order to regulate or the plan the finances accordingly. That is where it has been began. Now how it has evolved? So after the 2007 and 2008 global financial crisis, it has upgraded to the leadership level summit. That means the national leaders, the state heads used to participate in this regard. What is the structure? This is important. The structure, this is the Trioca system. As we all spoke, annual summit will be held, rotating presidency. Each year, the presidency will change. It is supported by a Trioca system. So usually, nearly 85% of the global GDP is present in these countries. 75% of the world's trade is present in these countries, and 2/3 of the world's population is present in the G20 countries. Now, what are the countries of the G20? You have to remember. First, if you remember in this way, it will become easy to remember all the groupings. First, you remember the G7 countries. That is the France, Canada, Italy, Japan, Germany, USA, and UK. So these are the one of the developed countries in that regard. So France, you remember from Europe, you have France, UK, and Germany, and Italy. So from Europe itself, you have 4 countries. Along with that, you have United States of America and Canada from the North America. And from again, you have Japan. That is the 7th country. So these are the 7 countries. Along with that, there used to be a G8 summit, but once the Russia has been expelled from this one, so it has again came back to G7. So the 8th country is Russia. That is G8. And then comes the G20. So along with this 8, so we have the Argentina. We used to have Argentina, Australia, Brazil, China, EU, that is the European Union, India, Indonesia, Mexico, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, South Korea, and then Turkey. So these used to be the countries which used to be present. Along with these 8, these 12 countries used to be there. So that is why we call it as a G20. But currently, the European Union, African Union has been added in 2023. And still the grouping is called G20, but it has 21 members currently. Okay. So in the 21 members, we have the 19 countries and 2 unions, that is the African Union as well as the European Union. Then what is the main purpose of G20? International economic cooperation as well as the governance. These is the important facts you have to remember. Now, what are the key takeaways that has been discussed in the recently concluded G20 Rio de Janeiro Leaders Declaration? That means it has happened in the Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. So there has been a declaration that is taken. Just like in 2023, in New Delhi, how we have taken up the declaration. So this is the new declaration taken place in this regard. Okay, what it has included, for example, social inclusion and poverty. That is the Global Alliance Against the Hunger and Poverty. Next, Global Coalition for the Local and Regional Production of our Healthcare Access. And then the first time commitment is given to basic sanitation, drinking water, racial equality. All this has been provided. This is the social inclusion and poverty. Then healthcare innovation. So focus is given on the improving access to the vaccines as well as the diagnostics. And then special emphasis was given on addressing the neglected diseases or the tropically neglected diseases. And then again, climate and the sustainable development is also given a focus, where a task force was established on the global mobilization against the climate change. This you have to remember. And then special consideration is given for the developed countries' climate action needs. Developing countries' climate action needs. And then the global governance reforms has also been part of this declaration. That is the multilateral development banks. For improving this multilateral development banks, so some of the roadmap has been endorsed. And then it has to be made bigger, better, and more effective. That has to be given for its institutional reforms in this regard. Okay. Now, economic justice initiative. So in the field of the economic justice also, some changes has happened. That is the historic agreement has been taking place, taxing the ultra high net worth individuals. So there was this particular. So this was based upon the Gabriel Committee. So the Gabriel Committee was formed. It has discussed that if we are taxing 2% of the high net worth individuals, so that will be helpful to eradicate the inequality. So this agreement has been signed, and cooperative approach has been ensured about the effective taxation of the super rich. That is this, and equitable economic distribution has been taken place. So these are the important facts you have to remember with respect to this particular G20 summit that was held in the Brazil de Janeiro. Now, next grouping, that is about the India-Caricom summit. So, India-Caricom summit. So, what is this? Why it is in news? The first thing, it is in news because the second India-Caricom summit was concluded in the Guyana, and the first was held in the 2019. The second India-Caricom summit was held in Guyana, that has been concluded recently. And India has proposed 7 key pillars, so which are usually forming as the acronym of the CARICOM. So in that way, these pillars are: C for capacity building, A for agricultural and food security, R for renewable energy, and C for climate change, I for innovation, technology and trade in this regard. So this is being happening in this way. Okay, so which are almost forming as an acronym in this regard. So they form this CARICOM. These pillars include capacity building, agriculture and food security, renewable energy, climate change, innovation, technology, and all this. So that is where it is formed. Now, what is this CARICOM? In order to strengthen the ties between the Caribbean community, this CARICOM is the Caribbean community, the Caribbean nations. So now we can see the map. If you can see here, the CARICOM member states, which are the member states of this CARICOM. That is the Caribbean community. These are presently the Central America region. So in this, you can see the Guyana, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, Barbados, St. Lucia, Dominica, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Vincent and the St. Kitts and Nevis, Haiti, Jamaica. Haiti is in news recently because there was some military coup and was happening, and India sent one particular plane to bring back the Indian citizens from the Haiti. So that is why it is important. Then Belize, and then the Bahamas. So all these forms the CARICOM members. So what is this CARICOM? The important facts about the CARICOM include: it was established in 1973. So in order to promote the economic integration and cooperation in the Caribbean region. Currently, it consists of the 21 countries. That is the 15 member countries and 6 associate members. Okay. And then this currently we'll be ending our class today here, and tomorrow again we'll be discussing the next important topics, that is the further G7 groupings and all those groupings we'll be discussing. And after that, we'll be going to the international organizations, different international organizations or the institutions. There we'll be following up our next classes. So this is where I will be restricting myself today. I will not be burdening you a lot. So each day spend 1 hour and then spend another half an hour revising these particular topics. That will be very much sufficient for your preparation until the next 2 to 2.5 months in this left before your exam ends, exam starts. Then this is where I will be saying you. And if you are liking our initiatives, please join our Telegram group. There we have provided you all the free material as well as the different course details provided there. And then you can all you can like this video, you can subscribe our YouTube channel, and that is where you will be sharing your thankfulness to us. And currently, so this is where we'll be ending our class. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.